It's good. It's good. Okay, I'm recording now. So yeah, the potentiality. Okay.
Yeah, that's what potentiality brings in a relationship, you know? But if you marry a person or you dating a person without potential, then we get upset because they're not fulfilling the requirements of the evolution, you know?
Mm,
And the requirements of the evolution is this, that you will one day be able to become emotionally mature, socially mature, you know, mentally and spiritually mature. This have nothing to do with money,
hmm
have nothing to do with the acquisition of anything that's physical, have everything to do with being internally mature, And that's the things that we don't measure until later on. You measure that when they say something sideways, like, I never thought that you'd be like, I never knew you felt that way.
Right.
Because you never looked at you never assessed the mental or spiritual or emotional maturity of that individual. It was never a check-in period. It was never something that you're just looked into. It was something that you're just overlooked for physicality, which means, how much money you making now versus how much property you own now versus how much education you got versus now. You know what I'm saying? Those
hmm
things you could measure them, but anytime you can measure something and put a hard number on life have a way of tearing that down, you
hmm
know? Because
hmm
yeah, you want to marry a rich person, but it comes with a lack of social, emotional, something else maybe lacking in those areas. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Yes.
So, did you marry for money or did you marry for the what we call the soft skills?
Right.
The
Yep.
soft skills is what we marry for, or we stay in relationships for. Your
Mm,
emotional maturity, your social maturity, your compassion, your insight. Those things you can't measure. That's not. I mean, can you put a number on a level of insight? You know,
no,
there's no measurement of insight. Some
it
people
isn't.
have it more than others. You
Very
can
true.
clearly see it, but you can't give it a number.
Right.
You know, but you can definitely tell how much person got money in the bank or something. You got like $1 million. Oh, you got $1 million, $2 million in the bank. We know that. But but what's more important to me is your insight, your
Mm,
emotional and social support, and your insight in those areas, and your willingness to grow. Most people are not willing to grow, and that's one of the
yeah.
reasons why we stuck in this hard form. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Let me
Like I tell my students often, if you in college just to get a job, then you missing the point.
point. Yes.
Oh, if you're here just to get a job, get a career, and to go into a career, this is not this. It's just going to give you that. It's not the information that we are bestowing is going to be missed by at least 90 to 100%.
Mhm.
Because what you're looking for is something that you can technically do on your own.
Right.
You can technically become a great writer without going to school. You could become a great doctor or lawyer without going to school.
hmm
Because there's a thing called practice, and then there's internships and all this other stuff.
Right.
You can self-teach, and that's what we have seen in the last 3 or 4 years is that self-teaching has become the modality for why people are successful. Self-taught. It had nothing to do with how many classes you took or
hmm
what college you went to and what kind of GPA you had. What you did after class is what really made you that great person. You
Mm,
studied the mechanics of whatever it is you was doing, and that's what fundamentally made you sound at whatever it is you did. As Malcolm Gladwell stated, that's your 10,000
thousand
hours.
hours.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
but that 10,000 hours came in on your self-invested interest.
hmm
The self-invested interest had nothing to do with, Professor Kelly sat there and we had a 3-hour lecture on this. Yeah.
Right.
But you want to have a 300-hour conversation to yourself
hmm
involving practice and internships and things like that. And that's where
Yes.
you become that great person, you know? So potentiality is hard, and your relationships is, at least I think, is predicated on potentiality. And then
Mm.
you fulfill those potential.
And that's
And
my
I,
question.
like I
That's
have
my
a daughter,
question.
getting back to my daughter, always talk about her, right?
Right.
Getting back to my daughter, my oldest daughter, her question to me is that how do I assess potentiality in a relationship that if I'm
There
going
we
to be
go.
married in the next 4 to 5
That's
years,
my
you know?
question. That's a question I'm
Yeah.
asking you, but I know that the people that are watching are gonna also have the question. How do I measure that? How do I know?
Yeah.
Right?
Well, it's the thing that you not it's the interview, which is the date. The date is the interview, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sitting down, I'm having a date with you. I don't care about the dinner. I don't care about the drinks. I don't care about the ambiance. What I care about is your response to the question that I'm asking. That is important. So I'm asking you a question. And however you'll be able to answer that question dictates to me that you're socially or emotionally mature. But if you're not necessarily what I'm looking for, then it could be a problem. Now, this is another thing. You can ask a question and not be prepared for that answer
Mm-hmm.
because you're not on that level of efficacy. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yep.
So a person answer that you ask a question, let's say a good example would be, how do you feel about having kids in the future? Yes, you say I would love to have kids, but this person response may be like, it is great to establish a legacy. It's great to have, someone who will be able to provide the fundamentals for not only this generation, but generations moving forward and be able to have certain things in place that not only improves the quality of the family, but individuals in general throughout the world or whatever it is. They have a broad perspective.
Yes.
So the person was just thinking about having little John Jr., but you responded with a larger response, which has a
Yes.
lot more gravitas to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what, and then now you're sitting there thinking that you was one up on this person. This person just blew you out the water, and then tell you that you are not qualified for a relevant relationship
Mm-hmm.
because you're a hand to mouth type of individual,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to someone who's a deep thinker
Yeah.
and goes beyond the numbers, and they're taking the intrinsic value out of it. It made it more than what it really is. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the hardest part. And that's when you go in, you ask those type of questions,
Mm.
and you're looking for those deeper responses. And if you get those deeper responses, then you know who you're dealing with. Now, the key is this: how can you get past the guy or the girl who's trying to bring their representative as
Right.
opposed to their reality?
Right.
You get that to dating, to having conversations more than one time. The first person you're going to meet is a guy or girl over the phone or on the internet. I don't know how these kids date these days.
Yeah.
I think they do stuff online, or they do. I don't know.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
date online,
Date online. Yeah, they date
right?
online through the dating apps and the services, and
So
then they meet
whatever
up.
modality they're going to use, that may be the first. But at some point, you're going to have a physical viewing of this individual.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, you start having deeper conversation. And the conversation you have with that person should never be shallow. It should always be something deep, something far reaching, something unattainable, something that's almost on the fifth dimension. That's the level of conversation. Because if a person can communicate on that level, they're able to do two, three, four, and five, which is
Mm-hmm.
how to change a diaper, how to warm up a bottle for milk, a
Mm-hmm.
walker, a pacifier, to be able to teach a child how to walk or to use the bathroom. Those are the fundamentals of raising children.
Mm-hmm.
How to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and burp the baby after feeding them. The baby got an ear infection, going there and getting amoxicillin. Those are things that parents only knows. A,
Right.
a real parent would know that is the crux of raising kids. And then from that point on, it gets a little easier because guess what? The children are going to learn how to feed themselves. You're no longer are feeding a child anymore. The
Mm-hmm.
children is no longer is walking on their own. You're not. The baby don't have a stroller anymore.
Right.
You know, so
Right.
there's a gradual independence going on there.
Yeah.
So when you're having a conversation about that, in itself, it should be something that is illuminating to that individual. You got to
Mm-hmm.
be wanting to do that. You know,
Mm.
so it's
Mm.
tough. But I think the problem is that we don't know how to
Good
ask
point.
questions.
Yeah, we don't.
And we need to learn how to ask better questions. And I think that's the problem. We don't ask good questions.
Right.
And good question asking should be the art. And it should never be about how much money you make or whatever it is. Because if a person is concerned about how much money you make, what you possess in life, and what you really miss the mark.
Right.
Really miss the mark.
I agree. I
Like, oh,
totally agree. And that's the thing, because everybody's like, there's memes and things going on. And thank you for that breakdown, Professor Kelly. Family, you listen to Professor Kelly, David Kelly, and myself, Kyle Dixon, for this video. And we're going to get into it today. It's going to be a short talk, not too long, but it's going to be impactful as always. And this is a series that him and I do where we talk about these things about life, business, finances, science, history, all these different things. So, Mr. Kelly, I want to say this in regard to potentiality, because a lot of people, like you said, lean on that, but you broke down how far that goes and how to measure that. When we talk about the success, because school was entering school now, people in school, high school, grammar school, college, you teaching at the high school level and also the college level, what are some of the things you're starting to see post COVID with the changing dynamic of education? Because like you say, just going to college, if you're looking to just get a degree, that's cool, but you're missing all the benefits of being in that social and cultural environment of a university or a college. They're missing some of those things. So what do you see that are some of the changing dynamics, good and bad, of education, how it's forming?
Well, I realize that a traditional education is not really worth it. You can
Mm,
be successful without a traditional education.
okay, yeah,
You just
please
have to have
explain.
self-invested interest. And what I also realized in the last 3 years is that we spend way too much money wasting money or time, excuse me, wasting money on education that has not benefited at least 80 to 90% of the people who pursued it.
Mm,
So if you're in the pursuit of an education, 80, 90% of the people who will pursue that degree will not benefit from that education in no way, shape, or form. And if they do, they will be basically making survival money, but not thriving money. So
mhm,
you go to school, you become a teacher. You go to school, you become a nurse, or you go to school, become whatever. You're never going to make it rich. You're
mm,
never going to be able to thrive enough to be successful. Most of the people who go to school, they're going to make anywhere between 40 to maybe $70,000 or 80 as a supervisor. That's most of the people in the United States. Got a college degree, you're going to make anywhere from 40 to maybe 70 to 80, and that's based on the region that they're in. Some regions you're going to make more, some going to less. But no
okay.
one is going to break that six-figure mark working on a job unless they do something above and beyond.
Mhm,
No, so you go into the field of nursing and medicine, you're going to make the six figures, but guess what? For every hour you spend, you're going to feel that hour. For
mm,
every time it's spent, you're going to feel it, but you're going to feel it in the form of a student loan. You're going to feel it in the form of work that needs to be done to keep this job going. You're going to feel it in one shape or form that's going to allow you to come away from something that you shouldn't be. Hold on one second.
mhm,
I need
sure.
to lose music. Oh, okay, there it is. But you're going to feel it in a way where it's going to it's you're paying.
I can't hear you. Your sound went out. You-
You're going to feel
Okay,
that
there you go.
pain basically in the form of money or in the form of time. But what I've learned is that a person, let's say, if you want to become a millionaire, most millionaires don't have a college degree. Or they
Mm,
started college and they realized it was about something. So, for example, like what you're talking about is the tech field. The tech field is something you can do on your own. We have all moved on to this thing called apps. A good computer tech or computer engineering, all they're going to do is go home and learn how to put together an app. And once you learn how to put together an app, and most people don't most people don't understand how it works unless they're in the gaming field or something like that. I'm pretty sure most of those kids know. A good app is going to take you anywhere from 3 to 5 years to put together. And what it really entails is a lot of the programming that is needed, that is default based in order for the individual to use it. And it almost got to be seamless to do it. It's
mhm,
like having what we call internet based TV. You see internet based TV, right?
right,
So everything you turn on your internet-based TV, it looks like an iPhone or an Android phone. We have these windows in it, right?
right.
And you tap those windows, and it brings you into these programs. Anybody can do that. Anybody can make an app, and if you make an app called whatever Disney Plus or Fubu or Peacock, you can make any one of those apps, right?
Right.
So you make those apps, and now you're making millions of dollars to subscribers, because that's what you do. You tap the app.
Mhm,
You subscribe. Oh, $5.99 a month. Oh, so you got to go to how you watch TV now is going to be app based, right?
mm,
You go on the app, you watch the local news, you go on the app, you watch the basketball, the football on the app. Everything is apps. And it may say live, when in fact it may not be live. I've just learned that.
Okay.
It may say live, but it may not be live, you know?
Uh-huh.
But the idea is the app-based TV. And that person who put together that app can be a millionaire or billionaire overnight. And that person requires zero to no degree. Just like the program you're promoting.
Mm-hmm.
The program you're promoting does not require a degree, right?
Right. Certificate. Yeah, no. Yeah.
Exactly. It's a certificate. So basically, you can go in, learn the fundamentals, and then how do you learn programming? You buy programming. You can literally go to the store or go to Amazon or whatever, Walmart, and buy a computer-based programming to help you along in developing your app. You don't have to devise it. There's little programs you can buy and help you make those things. Now you became a billionaire overnight because you designed Disney Plus app or ABC app or CBS app or whatever app you have on those little things. And that's how you do it.
Mm-hmm.
That's if you're interested in money,
Right.
you know? But if in a traditional education will never prepare you for that.
Mm.
It will never prepare you. Taking like what we did when we was in college, you got to take 30 hours of core courses. What the heck was that all about?
Right.
You remember that? Yeah, I took 30 hours of core courses, and what was that? I mean, what, reading,
Yeah.
writing,
Right into math.
math, and then you
Maybe
get some electives in there,
right.
right?
Foreign language, maybe.
So
Let's see what else.
yeah, man, you'd be like, what the hell was that all? You taking core courses your freshman year,
Yeah.
you know? And did you learn anything? No, because it's predicated on the depth of the professor.
Mhm.
You know, you can learn how to write, but
Right.
teach me how to become a writer so I can make money.
Right.
You know, I don't want to sit in your class and have, they're giving you these different types of writing techniques. I know English 101. When I
Mm-hmm.
took English 101, it was basically learning how to write in different types of styles,
Yep.
right?
You're
In
right.
different types of literature. And we looked at different literature, different types of writers. That's all fine and well. Now that I have that Emily Dickinson write this way is certain, and what did that do in the boat name? Old Man in the Boat Name. With Ernest Hemingway,
Everything.
right this way. Now that I know the difference between Emily Dickinson and the other dude, right?
Yeah.
How does that benefit me? I mean, come on, sir. You know?
Good
And
point.
now
No,
I'm
good point.
writing, and I realize writing is like an artist. Not
It
everybody's
is.
a great writer.
Yeah. Very
You
true.
know, to put together words to have meaning and depth, that's an art. Just like a person who can do like visual arts or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, or musical art. Everybody can't do it. And you'll see it in the work world. Because I know when I'm a pretty decent writer, but when I write, I try to pull in, you know. But I'm also an artist as well, so I'm thinking about the person when I'm writing, as opposed to just writing to get my message across. I'm thinking about the reader, you
Yes.
know. So it benefited me because I can also say I can take this and I can use it to make money or to promote whatever it is I want to promote or to go into marketing. That's it. But your teacher was not there to do that. They was there to show you Emily Dickinson, Ernest Hemingway, Ralph Waldorf Emerson.
You're
There
right.
was a lot of that going on,
A
you
lot of
know? So
European
I'm like,
writers. A lot of European American white writers. Yeah. On top of that.
and there's something you can learn from that also, you know,
True.
because they're
True.
writing from their space, you know,
True.
and that's one of the bias that you find in art form is because an artist can only do something from his development. And only when you start to bridge that gap. And I think that's what the core is all about. I
Yeah.
think that is what the core is about. The essence of the core in itself can be somewhat racist. You know, it can almost be racist because if you look at the 30 core, the core course itself,
Right.
is it really about diversity or is it about learning me?
Right.
You know?
Right.
So I think we have to revisit, going back to what you said, I think we have to revisit a traditional education. Even though I love education, I think everybody should embody one. I think we need to reimagine it. It needs to be reimagined. This is a conversation that was had at Columbia University 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Columbia University, I went to a symposium 20, and the question was, is the core beneficial? They have not
Mm,
answered that question. You know what I'm saying?
good point.
And the question is, the answer to that question is no, I don't
No,
think it's beneficial.
I don't. Yeah.
I don't think the core is beneficial. And I think what we should do go directly into what we call trade type environments, tech schools. That's what they was designed to do. Like MIT was designed as a tech institution for
Yes.
engineering. That's how it was built back in the 1700s or 1800s, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
So MIT, RIT, all of these technology-based schools, they was built as institutions for engineering.
Mm-hmm.
You go there, you learn to become an engineer, and you go out, you go in the world, and you build bridges and tunnels and all these other things. Some of the greatest people came from those universities. So there was more designed for people to become independent proprietors, as opposed to people, oh, I'm gonna finish up this degree and get a job working for the city. Oh my gosh, are you serious? Yeah, I'm gonna become a bus driver, a train driver. That's all fine, well, but you didn't gotta go to college to do that.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
should not have to go to college to drive a train or a bus and have all kind of crazy debt or become a police officer. A police officer does not require a college degree.
Mm-hmm.
It requires a lot of training, but it
Yeah.
does not require a college degree.
Right.
You know, and I'm pretty sure the longer you on that in that field, you will become a little bit more insightful and more in depth into the behaviors of individuals. So you can police, or you can drive the bus, or you can collect
That's what we hope.
garbage.
Especially with the police.
All
That
we
no
hope
diss to my
in the
policemen,
most
but
insightful way.
seriously. Yeah.
We hope, but
Yeah. We
the
hope.
key is
Yeah.
that you got a formal education. I think we need. I think the curriculum that we have in place right now is not beneficial. That's why I think 80-90% of the population does not use their degree to benefit themselves.
Mm.
I don't think. I think 80-90% of the people who get a degree, it doesn't serve them well.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? And the very few who do go on to get to professional schools, like the doctors and the lawyers
Mm-hmm.
and the engineers or something like that, they could have done that without going to school. You could become a great doctor without going to medical school.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying?
Now,
You
okay.
just
Now,
have to
now,
have self-invested interest.
okay. I was gonna
Hmm?
say, speak on that because a lot of people, I'm sure they're gonna be looking like, what? What do you mean they don't go to school? Like, break that down, because.
It's called practice. It's
Mm.
called practice. Let's say,
Mm.
for example, we have a hospital, right? The
Right.
hospital have a teaching institution built into it. It's like a plumbing school or electric school. They're going to show you what need to be done.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to show you how a needle is set up. They're going to show you how the body is set up, right? This is the body, the arms, leg, da da da. These are the organs, and this is how they function. That don't take no more than like a good 2 or 3 weeks to figure that out. Kidneys, the liver, the lungs, everything work in synchrony. You didn't need to spend 4 credit hours in the lab, a lecture in the lab, to learn how the kidneys, liver, and lungs work all together, because they're all a system in itself, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
they all work in concert with. So if one go bad, the other one gonna go bad. How long would it take you to figure that out? If you can't breathe, you can connect that to your lungs and your heart, and eventually you're gonna lose consciousness because your brain. Oh, ain't enough oxygen. I can explain that to you in 2 minutes, or I can explain it to you in 2 years. What do you want to do? What's all I'm
Right, I see what you said.
saying? Now the question is, now you said how, but how do you get
Right,
the
but how?
depth
Right.
knowledge of the heart?
Yes.
And you're talking about the different, like the mitral valves, and you're
Yes.
talking about the
Aortas,
SA and the
ventricles. Yeah.
AV.
Yeah.
Yeah, the SA and the AV node. SA and the AV nodes are nothing more than the particulars that you're gonna learn later on. But you ain't gotta figure that out right now. So if you want to know how the heart go boom boom and why it doesn't go boom boom, it's because there may be interruption in the electrical system. Like anything else. You ain't got no lights in your house, is getting dim because the power is not doing what it needs to do. You need to increase the power, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's electric, right? But it's how you explain that in a trade environment. But at the same time, as soon as you teaching something, you going out and putting that dude in the cardiac unit. He's in the cardiac unit looking at SA and AV nodes, mitral valves. He looking at aortas and all kind of blood vessels and blockages and strokes. He's in that unit doing that,
Mm-hmm.
doing work. You put a person in, if a person go to a job more than 3 months, they master that. That's it. If you go to a job doing the same thing for 3 months, you will master that.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is. because it's going to be a repetitiveness of same. Young people pick up repetitiveness quick. That's what I love about young people.
Yeah.
They see systems quickly because what they're doing is they're ignorant of the broader picture. So they pick up the systems. Older people be like, but where the hell does come from? The first thing,
Right.
yeah, why? But where that come from?
Right,
We
right, right.
all about
But
the young person. I don't give a fuck about that. I want you know, and it makes sense. But it also tell you why young people tend to make a lot of mistakes because they don't see the ramifications of
patience.
why, the why, the
Yes.
why.
Yes.
You know. So now that he done that, you do the same thing when it comes to whatever it is, and then you take him to surgery, and then you teach him the steps on how to open up a body, how to sanitize as you go along, how to make the corrections, whatever it is you need to do, and how to close the body and sanitize and close it and make sure you treatment and maintain it. If you teach a person that, that's a job.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? There's gonna be 1,000 people every day gonna die of a heart attack somewhere in this world. 1,000 people or more every day. So
Mm-hmm.
that's where you're gonna spend the most. And you learn that. You didn't have to take no 30 hours of credit hours and have $50 million in debt that you collected from a medical school that was racist from day one.
Mm-hmm.
Because the problem with medical school is racist in itself. You ask yourself, why don't we have a lot of people of color in certain areas of medicine?
Right.
It's a good old boy system. Same thing with a law firm. Law firms are racist too.
Mm-hmm.
Accounting firms too. We don't see accounting firms as they're very racist. Law firms as well. They'll
Mm-hmm.
plead out with you if you. Let's say I'm coming from the hood and like I caught a felony or something like that for some major crime.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing they're gonna do is say, "Listen, can you plead out?" The attorney will tell you to plead guilty
Wow.
because the perception of you coming in, unless you're famous and have a lot of money, please plead out so we can move this case along. You can go sit yourself in the jail for 10 or 15, 20 years because in their mind, they say it's okay to have you in jail.
Right.
It's okay to put you in jail because your being in jail will not change the perception of you, your family, or the environment that you're in. That's basically the concept of a prosecutor. But another thing, if you have a wealthy guy coming in there who may be coming from privilege, you can't have a wealthy person in jail.
Mm.
You can't. It sends the wrong message. You know what I'm trying to
Mm-hmm.
say? So
Yes.
in itself, you can't put a privileged 17-year-old who committed a major crime in an environment like that, unless he did something that's egregious. You know?
Yeah.
But the idea is that it's racist in itself. Medicine is racist. Even the type of healthcare you go into. Like I was this thing when I was working in the hospitals, it was like hospitals should receive death rates and levels of success. It should be posted. What do
Mm.
you mean by that? I mean, like how many people died and how many people who went there for open heart surgery were successful and live after 10 or 15 years. That should be public knowledge, right?
Mm. Yeah.
So when you go on their website at XYZ Hospital, you hit the button says success rate 80, 90%. If you live in a hood, why your hospital is 20% success rate?
Yeah.
The people should be able to assess
Yeah.
if they got well enough, right?
Right.
But where is that listed in our hospitals? It's
Yeah.
not.
It's not. No.
It's not listed there. It's because what happened is we do a poor job at training qualified individuals. And the traditional education is not the best indicator of success. It's an indicator of work. It's an
Mm-hmm.
indicator of keeping, answering the question to a question that need not be answered. For example, if I'm poor and I'm living in a hood and I have poor morbidity issues coming up and I have all these other stuff coming up like high blood pressure, diabetes, the reality states that I don't supposed to make it. I'm supposed to die at 65, 70.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you look at those numbers that the life expectancy of black men is like 67, 68,
Right.
69, somewhere around there, right?
Right.
So it goes back to that. So their attitude is it goes back to the training. How can you train people and remove them from the racist? I don't know. I don't know if professors are biased by nature. I
Mm-hmm.
think they're biased by association. I
Mm.
think they was brought up in an environment like that. They was born into whatever it is, and they have a perception of people and life.
Mhm.
And I don't think we work enough to change our perception of that. I
Mm.
think what would happen is something happens, we look at it, we think we're changing it, when in fact, we're not really changing it. You know what I'm trying to say?
Mhm. Mhm.
You're addressing it, but you're not really
Dressing.
addressing it because you
Dressing.
really don't care.
Right.
Technically, you really don't care
Mm.
if there's discrimination or racism in medicine or in education on in the legal system. There is. We know it's embedded. Even our government system is racist in itself. You
Mhm.
know?
Mhm.
So if we have a better way of training people for those positions, then it would be like for to be a lawyer, you don't necessarily have to go to law school.
Mm.
You know, study 26 parts of the law on your own, self-invested interest. Someone walk you through the process, and you become a lawyer,
Mm.
certified, a part of the bar. You never have taken any student loans or debt or anything else like that. You just became a lawyer based on your individual self-invested interest, which is a beautiful thing, you know?
Yeah, I
Did I
was.
answer your question?
Yeah, you did. But one question begets another question. It's like because you make
Mm,
some very profound things you just said as far as like self education. But you and I've been educators for over 20 plus years,
hmm
individually, and we noticed that certain students have a proactive nature or have
hmm
a initiative to want to learn or to do things on their own time, as we say. Like you say, enough. You A student being in a class, as we both know, is not enough. You like you said, you're gonna have to be thinking about
hmm
and ruminating and analyzing, even if it's just in your own mind outside of class, in order to get the full benefits of what has been shared with you in the classroom,
hmm
not just from the teacher, but also from your fellow classmates as well. And I know that's the part that
Yes,
a lot of
yes.
people miss in education, that it is a social environment. People often forget that it is school is very much more social than it is almost educational. The
Yeah.
education
And
comes
you
out of
learn more
social.
socially.
Yeah.
You learn more socially than you will traditionally in the classroom.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know the first thing when I taught the class, lecture started a couple of weeks ago, right?
Right.
And the first thing the students was doing was passing along this sheet about some kind of online thing that they do on in line. I don't know. It's something that they do among all the students themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And what it is it's homework and exam type questions that I may present sometime during the semester.
Okay.
But they do it among themselves, and it's a social environment that students form on their own. Have
Mm-hmm.
nothing to do with the class, but have everything to do with the class because it's the information in the class that is being shared. So if a student is on this system, their fellow students is helping them with the information and the answers
Right.
and all the other stuff. So it's a way in which they're socializing as a study group to be able to be successful. So you're right. Student education is more social than it is traditional academia, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
Mm-hmm.
And I prefer that. I technically prefer that you learn more from a friend than you will from a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
I think as parents, we see it happen every day. We don't like it, but it do.
Yeah.
Like for example, just because you brought your child into this planet, you don't got to be their initial teacher. That's hard. That's the thing that most parents struggle with.
Mm-hmm.
You are not their only teacher, and you are not their primary teacher. Your teacher is going to be the world, and they're going to choose who they want to be taught by or be associated with.
Mm-hmm.
You as a parent, not that person. And most parents, oh, I don't want my kids to learn this. I don't want. Who are you? That child gonna make that determination himself. And you'll
Mm.
see it among teenagers and young adults who may or may not believe what their parents believe.
True.
It's
Yeah.
okay, you know.
Yeah.
And I do it with my kids. When my son or daughter do something that I don't agree with, the first thing that comes to my mind is I'm not the only teacher.
Mm.
I'm not the only teacher. They have influences that are beyond me. And rightfully so, because my parents wasn't my only teacher as well. I had other teachers.
Same here.
I have other people in my life, yeah, that helped me become a better person.
Same here.
So it works. But answering your question, I think a traditional education is going to need some update, and it should not look like a desk and chairs and
Mm-hmm.
chalkboards or curriculum or syllabus. I think it look a little bit more like trade school. It should look a little bit more like trade school or institutions like that is designed to, you know, give them a world perspective, you know?
Yeah.
And then going back to the guy who's in the hospital, who's working in the cardiac unit,
Right.
he would also learn about social work, you know?
Yeah.
He or she would also learn about social work in the sense that if a person has done all the services and they don't have a place to go, where would they go after they finish the hospital? So
Mm-hmm.
they open up a whole new realm of social work and aftercare, follow-up care, have nothing to do with being a doctor,
Right.
have everything to do with social work services. It's a beautiful thing. You see
Yeah.
what trade school gives you more than just that. It also can open up an opportunity for, let's say, mental health.
Mm-hmm.
So not everybody is going to come in here, is going to go to the social services and be able to listen. This person live independently. If you mentally ill, you can't go to a regular apartment.
Right.
So you realize that, hold on, a person who's mentally ill can't be placed independently in an apartment by themselves. They
Mm-hmm.
need a different type of supportive type of a housing environment.
Yeah.
And you learn that stuff. How did you know that? I didn't need that in the book. Oh, but you're gonna learn that in the hospital because there's a
Right.
social work unit downstairs who's gonna boom, 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 boom. You also may learn about money, financing, and funding, and how the hospital makes money, how the hospital spends money, and why the
Right.
hospital charge you $5,000 for a needle, and why. The
Right.
reason why. You're gonna
Because
figure all of that out through your vocational training, and
right. Because
I
people don't
think you'll be
realize
a
hospitals are
better doctor.
businesses. Hospitals are like
It
we're
is
not
a
talking about
business.
that. It's a business. And let me ask
Same
you.
thing with law.
Yep. 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 And I was gonna say this too to add on what you said earlier with the hospitals and their grading scale or their scale of their efficiency, effectiveness in the communities. It's funny that we talk about this amongst ourselves in the community. People know like, yo, don't go to that hospital. That's like the death hospital. We say this out
Yeah.
loud, but like you said, as
Mhm.
far as um, an actual like document or actual research that's I guess accredited or whatever that we could go to that's a consistent thing for every hospital. We don't have that, but in our experience dealing with our family and friends and the communal knowledge, we were like, don't go to the hospital. If you want problems,
Yes.
go to that one. Go make sure you go to this one. But then it goes back to
Well,
access and insurance
you
too.
know, that's the purpose of having reviews online.
Mm-hmm.
If a person if, I know I read the reviews. I'm in the habit of reading reviews. I look at stars as well, but I also read the comments. I read every last one of those comments.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is the type of person that I may be.
Right.
I like investigation. I like to know where things come from and why they do good or bad. And 9 times out of 10, those reviews are usually right, especially if they got ones that has like 1,500 reviews or 1,700, or maybe even it could be even as low as maybe 10 or 15 reviews. There's some truth to that.
Right.
Oh, poor quality, poor this, poor that. We do it.
Mm-hmm.
So in essence, I think hospitals need to be graded. Like restaurants need to be
I
graded,
agree.
hospitals need to be graded, and there need to be reviews on it, and people need to know what's going on.
I agree.
But you also want to pick out some of the races and social issues that comes out of it. For
Mm-hmm.
example, if a hospital's in a poor neighborhood and there's people coming in there with morbidity issues, and poor people is going to have a lot of morbidity issues. What do
Mm-hmm.
you mean by that? They're going to come in there with things like high blood pressure, diabetes, cholesterol, heart problems, and mental health issues
Mm-hmm.
born from something, right? Cool.
Right.
The question is, the hospital is going to treat you and stabilize you, but will
Mm-hmm.
they get to the etymology of why you have diabetes or why you have cholesterol? When you start talking about the etymology or the epidemiology of the origin of these things, that's when you start to be like, oh, wow, I don't think we need to do this, because now you're looking at issues of why you knew that fried chicken, the pizza, the Snicker bars, the Doritos, the Coca-Cola soda,
Oh, so
whatever you ate, or better yet,
chopped
the
cheese.
ethnic food that we was able to eat, we knew that was a problem,
Bacon, egg,
but
and cheese.
the hospital is now forced to reckon with that.
Mm.
Say, look, the hospital should put out an edict. Listen, these companies are promoting bad products, And that edict states that. Now you have to go to the government. Government say, listen, Doritos cannot put out another chip and ever again because their products was failed. The product they use, or the chicken, or the Chick-fil-A, or the KFC, whatever it may be, they're failed products. And this is why. Other countries are very proactive around it. Why? Because they have very little money for their healthcare system.
Mm-hmm.
And their healthcare system is not predicated on Medicaid, Medicare, and private insurance.
Mm-hmm.
Their healthcare system is predicated strictly on tax dollar levy. So their
Right.
attitude is, if I'm a socialist country and this is tax levy money, we got to stop having these people come in here with allergies and asthma and diabetes and being overweight. We got to
Right.
stop this. And the way you stop that is by banning certain products in the area. Like, for example, any product that has wheat, knock it off the shelf. Any product that may be wheat, but is processed wheat,
Mm-hmm.
refined sugar,
Yeah.
fried chicken, or baked cookies, or whatever, all that stuff got to be taken off the market. And now you went from level 1, which is taking care of the person in the hospital, to level 2, telling the government to ban these products. And
Mm-hmm.
then you start to see the slowly trickling away of health morbidity issues in those indigent neighborhoods,
Mm-hmm.
because you attack the etymology of the problem, which is basically poor people buying poor food. And the sad thing about it, poor people buy poor food out of necessity. And then so we are, I would always for myself as a person who's independent, poor. We as poor people see ourselves like more like, it's ethnic, it's traditional, and I like it. We
Mm-hmm.
don't ever question our rationales to why we like our ethnic food, or is it beneficial to us, or anything else like that. We never question that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We live with the consequences.
Yeah.
But on the flip side of that, we have to be taught, listen, everything you've been taught, you got to unlearn. You got to learn that rice is one of the most dangerous things you can eat every day. Beans are very dangerous as well. It's
Mm-hmm.
for farm animals. But you got to be taught that. No one
Yeah.
is telling people that rice, beans, pasta is bad for you. But that's the basis of most of people's diet. Pasta, rice, and beans of some sort. Right? All over the
Yeah.
world. Person is going to eat rice, beans, or pasta. In some way, shape, or form, or potatoes.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
Those are the basic big.
Oh, you're on mute. You're on mute. Okay. There we go.
Become something more than what it really. You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
So the attitude is, we as a community need to do a little bit more in that area. We're not. No, we're not doing enough,
Mm-hmm.
and the hospital deal with that. So now, getting back to that hospital in the hood, you have a trickling down effect of the people coming in with morbidity issues and more education, probably. But the key here is that these companies are not making any money anymore, and if they're not making money, then what are we going to do? We're not hiring people anymore. So we go into this issue of unemployment because X amount of people have, the company closed down and lost 20,000 jobs. You know how they used to have that on the news back in the 80s? That was all, GM is closing down a factory, and that means 40,000 people will be out. That used to be a big thing back in the day. When a
Yeah.
company or a factory closed down,
Yes.
20,000 people is going to lose their job, and that make the news. And that's what happened here for the most part.
Yeah.
But they fail to realize that we have to reimagine how money is made and how money is being
Correct.
used.
Correct.
You know?
Correct. And also how industries, I was talking about this with my brother recently because we have family like in Gary, Indiana, friends in Gary, Indiana, and like those places like Cleveland, Chicago, all like even places like Pittsburgh, those steel mill, those industry towns, and places like specifically Gary, Indiana, because Dame Dasher talked about it recently. Like those, you have to reimagine Detroit. You have to reimagine those places because, like you're now talking about,
Mm-hmm.
those industries existed for that time, but we have moved on. And those jobs have moved on outside of the country, have been outsourced.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So and to be honest, to be real, and now you and I talk about this, and this is maybe certain people may feel offensive to this, but that's actually a good thing, actually. Oh, in
Well,
the
that's
scheme
what
of
Obama
things.
was trying to get.
Yeah.
That's what Obama was trying to get people to see
Yeah.
is that if you re-educate people in
Yes. But you have to
training
re-educate.
schools
Right. But you have to
and
re-educate.
have them go into areas like green energy,
Yes.
not only will they make more money, but we would have this consistency in employment as opposed to having this drop in employment. You have a consistency. So a person lost his job in the car industry, right?
Right.
He should be able to go into the green industry movement and continue that lifestyle he had while in training school, because we're going to pay you while training,
Yep.
and then we're going to pay you while you're going around doing geothermal, which is a
Mm-hmm.
big thing,
Mm-hmm.
solar, which is a really good thing, and
Mm-hmm.
doing other forms electrically built. I mean, using water or using some kind of maybe light. It could be a number of ways in which you can use green energy.
Right.
But you're going into those areas. But green energy is something that is always going to be needed because there's so many people in the world who need to be switched over to green energy.
Yeah.
And then once you have established green energy, it needs to be maintained.
Right.
You know, green energy is need to be maintained a little bit differently than oil and gas. You
Mm.
know, oil and gas can be a little bit messy,
Yep.
you know, but the key is that green energy be maintained as well, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and it costs a little. Like for example, you're coming in and let's say you have a car work need to be done.
Right.
You're coming in for let's say tires and struts, right? I
Right.
don't even have struts, tires and struts, right?
Okay.
Cool. That's going to cost you. Let's say that cost you. Oh, it's going to cost you around $800 for tires and struts. Great. If you're going there for electrical work, it's going to cost you a little bit more than that
Mm-hmm.
because what you're doing is you're connecting that system to everything in the car itself. So a person who's going in for electric that may cost you $1,500. So a technician who's coming in to do new electrical work in a particular environment or house, it's going to cost you a little bit more. Thus, those people are making more money.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Yes.
So green energy, which is pretty much electricity, right,
Mm.
is going to look a little bit differently than it would if you actually bring people into this industry and make sure that they grow themselves financially, grow the company, and the thing about green energy is that it's also a field that you can always one up. Like for example, let's say 5G.
Right.
You could be potentially up to 15G or 16G,
Mm-hmm.
right? You could potentially go as far. You always getting up. Green energy always have a better way of doing it because
Mm-hmm.
it's green.
Mm-hmm.
You can always find a better way to do it. Like with oil and gas, I think they're the gosh. How can we be in 2023? We've been driving cars for over almost 100 years, right?
Right.
Average
Almost. Yeah.
person had a car going on 100 years, right?
Right.
Right?
Right.
So now you still getting 20 miles to the gallon, 30 miles to the gallon. You have not figured out a way to get 100 miles to the gallon. You
Right.
still were at 20, 30 to the mile,
Right.
which
But
tells us that you are
even though people
basically,
have, even though
yeah,
we've
but
heard stories of
even
people
which
doing it.
tells us that you have crookedness built into your system,
There we
number one,
go.
and you're untrustworthy,
There we go.
right? The
Right.
whole system is untrustworthy, and these people are lies and cheats and connivers, right? So now, if you go to green energy, there's no limit to how far you can take this thing
Mm,
because electricity is electricity, transmitters are transmitters, and you're now making ignorant people more intelligent and giving them the tools to do it themselves.
mm,
That's it. You can do it yourself. You don't necessarily need a guy who's, oh, we're going to do gas and petroleum and lead fuel and all this. It can be changed. And that's what Obama was trying to do. But, the crooks in the system was not going to let that happen. The
mm,
system in itself is rigged towards people being sick, ignorant, poor neighborhoods, poor health care, poor education. That's what the system is designed for.
mm.
So going back to the question, the original question of education, it need an overhaul. It need an overhaul. I was just talking to the gentleman this morning when I came to this neighborhood. Actually, I'm sorry, I'm in transit right now. But
Okay.
when I came to this neighborhood, I seen an old friend over here, and he was telling me about, oh, what about the job you said you was working for 2 weeks? I said, yeah, I had to walk out because I couldn't deal with the negativity of the environment. If
Mm,
the principal is not in cahoots with, giving these children an alternative to their education,
mm.
then what am I doing? You
Good
want to
point.
pass the regents, or you want these kids to pass the regents,
Mm-hmm.
which is really common sense,
Mm-hmm.
versus being able to go out and create a business mindset for themselves. What do you want to do? You have the tools in your hands to do it. And I said, listen, I'm not showing back up, but we can't do it unless you teaching these kids something a little bit differently. Then I don't want to be a part of that, because there's enough people out in the world who's willing to teach the traditionals.
Right.
I'm not willing to teach traditionals.
Mm.
We've been down that road, and it didn't help me because I come from that environment. I come from the traditional education, K to 12. I come from the regular undergraduate and the graduate program, and I realized that I was given a bowl of trash. I was given a bowl. It's only when I learned how to do research that I learned how to think for myself and do things for myself, and realize that the information that we are doing is about someone else's being, and it's have nothing to do with us. Have everything to do with your bottom line. It's like when I go online,
Mm-hmm.
if they're not advertising to you, then what they gonna deal with you? You ever
Mm.
been on TV or internet-based TV? That's all they do is advertise, right?
Yeah, they do. Yeah, ads all over the place.
That's all they do is advertise. If
Ads.
a person is coming to you, all they want to do is sell you something.
Mhm.
That's all they're doing. They're not trying to make you a better
Elevate.
person.
Right. Right.
Buy this new TV, buy this new app, buy this new water, buy these new clothes, and this is better. And they give you a nice little stupid gimmick to go with it. So hopefully you can buy the new Bobby and Ken. Well, watch the movie. You feel better after you did it? No, I don't. But anyway, it is what it is.
Right.
Spend the $17. Go about your business.
Mm.
And that's the short answer to a traditional education. So I think what you're doing right now as a computer-based program, I think that's the best thing to go on for these kids.
Mm.
They can actually get the certificate, and then they can realize some independence later on. When someone tells them that, listen, you can go to Walmart and buy the other parts of your app, and you can create your app yourself.
So.
Like I know this dude up in Westchester, right?
Mm-hmm.
When he in Orange County.
Okay.
He got his own. He got his own thing with the what they call that stuff, the Fire Stick.
Yeah, the fire
You
stick.
pay
Mm-hmm.
him 25. You pay him $25 a month, right?
Mm-hmm.
On your phone. You know how you do Venmo, all that
Yeah.
craziness. You pay
Mm-hmm.
people cash
Yeah.
that, right? And what he does is he gives you unlimited access to the TV. He have his own network.
Wow.
He created his own network. You pay
Wow.
$25 for the month, and you can watch anything you want. The whole
Wow.
objective for him was that I want to make it as cheap as the cheapest app on TV
Mm-hmm.
and keep it going. I said, why do you charge 25? The cheapest app is like $5.99.
Right.
He said, nah. But don't you think I should be getting something for it as a reward? Yeah, it is. But this is not a human service. Or I said, you're using other people's product. You're right, but I'm just providing you the network to do it. So he's charging you $25 a month to have unlimited access on all the channels on the program. It's literally stealing, but he made a business out of it.
Mm.
You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
That's it. So you pay him and you get to do all that stuff with a fire stick, but he have to give you that fire stick.
Right.
And then when that fire stick becomes useless, he'll give you a new one, and you continue to pay. And then mind you, he will shut you down if you don't pay him.
Oh, he got that mechanism too. Huh? He got
Yo,
it.
he will shut you down if you didn't get his $25. You'd be like, yo, what's up? You ain't give you 25, dude. I just shut you down.
Wow.
Send me my money, and then I bring you back up. And he do it on his
Wow.
phone.
Wow.
He could be anywhere and be like, yo, Jason, bang, you back on.
Yeah.
You mother. I should have had cable, but yeah, you got cable, but you wouldn't have all of these
All these
channels. You
channels.
wouldn't have
Yeah.
a fight. You wouldn't have you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Becomes that kind of a situation with him,
I can't, I
But
can't.
that's what and this dude have no education, never seen a college campus in his life. He
Mm.
worked at I think how I met him. I met him delivering stuff on a truck, furniture.
Okay.
He was delivering furniture on a truck. That's how I met him.
Wow.
And he was like, yo, this is what I'm doing. Hook up. I'm like, what? I said, nah, I don't got a smart. I ain't never had a smart TV at that. I was like, yo, I have a regular TV. I ain't doing that. Young people got a lot of stuff way before older people. So I couldn't understand the system.
Right.
But now I understand what he's doing. I'm not a part of his system.
Right. Right.
I was like, dude, I ain't doing that. You illegal, dude. I don't want to be part of your criminal enterprise. There's too many criminals out here looking for people. I
Yeah.
don't want to be a part of that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
he's still doing that, and he's still got a lot of people doing it. So that's what technology can bring you. You know, all he needs to do is legitimize it. He'd be good.
Yeah.
You know, but at that point, he started looking like cable companies like Comcast,
Right. That's what I was gonna say. Yeah.
Timon,
He's basically
because
creating.
that's what they're really doing.
Yeah.
All they're doing is giving you a box as opposed to a Fire Stick,
Yeah.
and you have access to it. They'll cut you off just like everybody else will.
Sure will.
You know, turn you
Sure
back
will.
on.
Yep.
Even do an assessment. You know, so I think what you're doing is good work. I think that's a beautiful work. I would definitely put it in my announcements.
Great.
As soon as you send me a link, I will put it in my announcements, and I'll definitely let people know that this is a service that they may want to benefit from. But I think more, not only that, but it could be anything. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I think anything can work, not just technology. It could be
Mm-hmm.
anything.
Mm-hmm.
You
Like you say,
know?
we just have to reimagine. We have to reimagine, break out of the so-called traditional norms of how things
Mhm.
function. It's just like you said. It's just like you made a great point earlier, and everybody that I've listened to, your Jim Rohns, your Les Browns, your Dr. Eric Thomases,
Mhm.
who else? Um, uh, Kiyosaki, a traditional education. If you want to be rich as far as wealth monetarily, you're not gonna get that in a
Mhm.
traditional education. It's just that's not what it's built for. It's not built
Yeah.
for that.
Robert Kiyosaki.
Right, Kiyosaki.
I
Thank you.
remember
Robert
that man. I
Kiyosaki.
remember
Yeah,
reading his book.
yeah,
Robert Kiyosaki was an eye opener. Rich Dad Poor Dad. That was
yeah,
a true eye opener.
yeah.
I read that just before I went into real estate.
Okay.
I read that just before I went into it because I knew I needed to do something, but I didn't know what area I wanted to do it in. And I was at that point. I was looking
Oh, you're on mute. You're on mute. Okay, there we go.
at that book. It was clear. It was clear as day. It was like, yo, this is what you do. You know, and
Mm-hmm.
then you start to morph into something else. You know, like the biggest thing,
Yeah, you're on mute again. There we go.
biggest business that we take part in renovation and upgrading and things like that. That's the biggest, caveat. You know, you wouldn't have known that, and that doesn't require an education. It does not require a certificate. It does not require anything other than a license to do it that you get from the city. You had to get from the city to be able to do whatever it is. And you've got somebody who's certified to oversee the job. That's all. You didn't have to go into $50,000 in student loan debt to become that person. You know what I'm trying to
Mm-hmm.
say?
Yes.
And I think that in itself is an industry built on predatism. You know,
Yeah.
you predatize these individuals, and you go after these young kids, 17, 18 years old, coming out of these inner cities, and you got to remember, 60% of them will not graduate in 4 years.
Right.
You know, and I remember looking at some school, it had a 23% graduation rate.
23%. I bet you
Yeah,
I bet the acceptance was what 75 over 75%, 70, 75%.
it was somewhere in Georgia. It was somewhere in Georgia, and it was a part of their state university systems. So
Mm.
Georgia got some really good schools there.
Yeah, they
They had
do.
Emory was one of
Emory.
the
Yeah, I was
top.
gonna say Emory. Yeah. Georgia
Um,
Tech.
UGA is a pretty good school, but
Yeah, University of
UGA is
Georgia.
a
Yeah.
marginal school compared to ours up here in the
Yes.
north.
Yeah.
It's very marginal.
Yeah.
Georgia Tech is also a pretty good school, but it's marginal compared to Northeast schools. And we take
Mm.
Northeast schools for granted, but when you look at those other schools, you be like, "Damn, these are marginal ass schools," but they're good for those neighborhoods or
Mm-hmm.
those that region. UGA, Georgia Tech, Emory, decent schools for that environment. But when you come up here, they're definitely tier two schools, tier one schools. I mean,
Mm.
tier three schools.
Yeah.
You're looking at they're equivalent to maybe a school like the State University of New York,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe Fordham University or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
They're not the top schools where we talk about the Cornells, the Yales, the Princetons, and the Harvards and stuff like that. They're not on that level,
Mm-hmm.
and they're not on the level like the NYU's or the MITs,
Mm-hmm.
people like that. Schools like those are tier two schools,
Yeah.
but they're much more. cutting edge.
Yeah,
You
Tufts. Yeah,
know,
like even Boston, like Tufts. Yeah, like even those
yeah,
little
those are
like
tier two schools,
yeah.
but they're like, yo, I'm right up. They may be tier two, but they
Hmm.
hitting at 93%, 94%.
Yeah. Good
That's
point.
that's a high situation.
Yeah, good point.
But
Yeah.
their top one schools look more like our 80 percentile, like
Mm.
the University of Buffalo, not Buffalo State,
Right.
Albany, Binghamton,
Hmm.
stuff like that. Those are the top tier state institutions,
Yeah.
you know. And then if you go private, you're looking at places like Cornell. You're looking at the top tier type schools,
Yeah.
NYU's, you know,
NYU's. Yeah.
top tier schools, you know.
Yeah.
But their graduation rate was 20 something percent. I'm like,
Wow, man.
23. Yes.
That is.
I
Whew.
told you, I said, this what you gonna do? We said, we don't take qualified. I said, what's the acceptance rate? 100%.
Of course. Of course. Come on,
Oh,
man.
like you said, your acceptance rate is 100%. You said,
Come
yeah, my
on.
acceptance rate is 100%. Like, wow.
Wow.
I mean, what does 100% looks like? I mean, everybody who apply get accepted.
Yeah.
So, but I'm a 65. I'm a 65 average student. Here it is, a dude. He's a 99% average, and I'm a 65. You know, we don't supposed to be in the same room, right?
Right. You know.
A blind person can tell you
Yeah.
that a 65 average student and a 99% average student does not belong in the same room. They
Mm,
don't. It does unless you change the way you interact with them,
yeah.
it's not going to work.
Mm,
You have to change the way you interact, and you do what we call education modification, which is basically means that you're now changing the way the curriculum is done to help bring the 65 and 95 in one position.
yes.
Because they could be in the same room,
Yes.
but you have to do it. And what we use the concept of differential education, we do it when we was working with the GED program.
Hmm.
At least when I was working with the GED program, I did it. I differentiated, but I had the bandwidth to do it. I knew that this guy
Right.
had the
Same here.
interest of a weed smoker, drug dealer. What is it? What we got? Weed smokers, drug dealers, gang members.
Hmm.
Uh, street heavy.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Hmm.
Decadence, right?
Right.
This person had the acumen of an Ivy League school and willing to go to the Ivy League and follow the traditions and be successful
Hmm.
as a member of the Ivy Tower, right?
Right.
They're sitting in the same room, right? At least we seen them sitting in the same room.
Right. We see.
And what
Right.
we did is we braided. You braid it together.
Hmm.
It's going to have to be for the guy who may not be that progressive. It got to be a little bit visual with this guy.
Yeah.
For this guy, it got to be a little bit theoretical. So you're going to braid the theoretical and the visual together, and then you'll bring them up, and it worked.
Yeah.
It worked.
Yeah.
You got people who we seen who dropped out of school, did almost perfect on that damn exam.
Yeah.
It's how you did it.
Yep.
It's how you present it, And
Yes.
then you let them know from day one, this thing is easy. Whoa, it is. Because the teacher would never tell you that.
Hmm.
You let a person know from day one that this is how you're going to get all the answers right. So what? Have
Right.
never told me, yeah, this is how you're going to get everything right.
Right.
How are you going to get all the answers correct? Because I want to show you how to get all the answers right.
Right. Yeah.
And then I'm gonna teach you how to do this on your own and get everything right. But what you got to get over is the fact that the first time you do it, you may get everything wrong
Hmm.
because you don't understand the system first,
Right.
and you're gonna get everything wrong. So what I try to do is to take a slow blow on that. I'm gonna give you something where you can get everything right the first go around. Build your confidence. Second time, everything right. Do that like 4 or 5 times. Now your confidence is up the wazoo. You think that I can be damn a Rhodes Scholar. I can be a graduate. Yeah, I did that what they call the Deion Sanders effect. The Deion Sanders, you souping these people up to make them think that they more than what they really are. And if
Yeah.
you tell a person something, they think they really are that person. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
They really think they are. So and then you slowly add diversities to it. A couple of questions, And they're getting it wrong, but as they get it wrong, they realize that, oh wow, it's a little bit more complicated than this. And now you bring it up to tier 2, to tier 3, and that's how you do it. And then eventually you overteach and you can get 100 on the Regents. And you have to remember, most kids who pass the Regents are going to get like 65%.
Mhm.
No, they don't even do Regents in the southern states. You know what I'm
No,
trying
they
to
don't.
say?
No, we don't. They don't. They do not. They do not. That
You
is a
know, but
that is a midwestern northeastern dynamic.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you teach them that, and then you realize that now this person is getting in the 90 percentile. And then I give you old exams. You're scoring in 95, 96 percentiles, and you are a weed smoking, drug dealing,
Right.
gang type of individual, but I have made you into this person.
Mhm.
And how did I make you into this person? Is because I changed the dynamic of the system. And I had the bandwidth to do it and the
Mhm.
know-how to do it and the willingness to do it. Most of these people who work in a job right now, they're not prepared for rigor. Most of these people are like your teachers, your doctors and lawyers are not, as I said to you before,
Mhm.
they're not the best representation. Your nurse, your doctor, your teacher, your lawyer are not in the right position. They're in the wrong field.
Mm.
They're in the wrong field. I was talking to this guy. I was in the gym this morning, right?
Yeah. Explain that.
This dude,
Yeah.
he's called a Wild Man Steve. He gave me his card.
I've heard that name before.
His job, he was basically a writer.
Mm.
He was a writer for many years, a college professor, educator, and all this other stuff, right? So I was in the gym. So what's up, Steve? He wore this hat. You know, he wear the hat, the safari hat
Yeah.
with the belt going across.
Yeah.
So he wear these hats, right? And I was meaning to talk to him about the thing. He runs a thing called foraging. I'm big on foraging. I love foraging.
Okay.
Foraging is when you go out into the area, into the woods or whatever it is, and you go out and you find food that you can eat.
That's what I thought
I
foraging
love it.
was. I was like, yeah,
That's what foraging is. So
yeah.
I like doing foraging more so in the spring than in the fall, because in the fall you're getting stuff that tends to be a little bit unhealthier, like mushrooms and
Right.
pumpkins, and I don't like that. I like
Because it's
the
coming
spring.
down versus blossoming up, right?
Yeah, yeah, but you get more things like berries. You get
Yeah.
more things like fruits. I like stuff like that. I'm not so much built on mushroom because mycology, which is the study of mushrooms,
Mhm.
is very broad. It's broad
Oh yeah,
and
mushrooms
it
are
can be
yeah.
poisonous. You know what
Yes.
I'm
Be
saying? It
hallucinogenic,
can be
poisonous.
poisonous.
Yeah, yes, definitely.
So he was like, listen, Professor, I'm going out to this place called Sunken Meadow next week, and I'm going to be doing fire. I said, you want to come? I said, no, I'm not coming this week, but I go in the spring. So take my card, come back, do it. But his whole objective is that he reimagined who he was as a person. He was a great writer. He said he's a better at teaching science. So he teaches basically, he have a background in mycology
Mhm.
and botany and all this other stuff, ecology. So that's his area right now. And there's mycology, botany, and all the other stuff, which is great. He's a great fit for me because I was like, listen, you know what? I've been looking for someone like you for a long, long time to be able to make referrals to.
Mhm.
Because even though I do foraging myself,
Yeah.
I need to send someone to you to help you do that. Because he forages all day, all year round, once a
Oh,
week, every week he does it. I
okay.
do it whenever I feel a need to do it.
Mhm. Mhm.
But he will forage all year round, educate, a great communicator, funny as hell, but he actually is a great teacher
Mhm.
by heart. And that's what education should look like in the future. You should be able to go out foraging. I said, where you going to go? I've been to Central Park, but they give me too many tickets. I said, listen, I need you to do me a favor. I want to get some walnuts, and I want to get the European walnuts in America. He said, that's never going to happen. Most people don't know what walnuts are. The ones we eat are the brown ones. You know what I'm talking about?
Right. Yeah.
But those are European walnuts. The black walnuts are the ones that we have in America. So every time I see him, he's usually giving me these kind of walnuts, which I said, I want these. He said, but the black ones are better for you than the brown ones.
Yeah.
And, I have to do my research. And before you know it, now I'm eating the black walnuts, you
Wow.
know? But it's really, see, this is the type of evolution that education needs to have. People doing things in a practical manner. Do you need to go to a botany class and spend 3, 4 hours in a lab and a lecture for botany? No. What you really need to do is be able to go to Mr. Wildman Steve.
Mm-hmm.
He'll show you foraging. And
Mm.
that's recreational. If you want to meet
Yeah.
a date, that'd be great. Because he usually have like, whoa, 78
Oh, you're on mute.
persons going to be on that tour. When do you want to get people with PhDs, MDs, master's degrees in sciences or whatever have you coming together on the weekend? That's where you're going to meet them. You're going to meet your nerds at those things like that. That's where you meet them. You meet them. You don't meet a nerd in the hood. You don't meet a great scientist in the hood or at a party at a club. We're never going to be there. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? And I think I'm a nerd at heart. I think I am a nerd at heart. I think I'm an academic at heart. You
Mm-hmm.
know, but you're not going to meet a person like that doing the regular. We're going to be at stupid things like Wild Man Steve foraging tour on a Saturday, asking dumb questions. But
Yeah.
that's where you're going to meet people who have interest in those. At least I know I have an interest. I
Yeah.
always did, but it is. Yo, listen, buddy, we spoke a lot.
Yeah, we did.
All
We
right.
did. No, this is great. No, family, thank you for listening with us. Professor Kelly, thank you for talking. This is a great conversation, especially start off the new year. We talk about education and about potentiality, about the changing dynamics of industry and all those things. Foraging, you know what I'm saying? Foraging. Um, so again, family, thank you all for listening to us in our conversation. Again, we're having these conversations so that we can include you all in. So please put comments down below. Please subscribe, share, like us, click that link, click that subscribe button. And again, if you have any questions for myself or Professor Kelly, just put it down in the comments below. We'd be glad to help answer for you. And again, anything we said, again, take it for what it is. We're not saying we're experts. This is just our opinion. So any opinions that have been shared on this, please do your own research. Do your own research. And that's where you're going to find the jewels and the gems outside of foraging, but in your mind, in your environment. You know what I'm saying? So, Professor Kelly, you want to end with anything? Here we go.
Thank you very much, and I hope the information that I share with you can be of use to you. I know there's a lot of information online that is available to us, but whatever little bit of information, please contact us. We will expound if need be. If you want to, talk to have a one-on-one, we're available for that as well. So just definitely, if you want to share my information, you can share my email with them if you choose to.
Okay.
And we'll
I'll put it in the comments.
definitely be able to answer some of the questions that you have and hopefully bring you to a better space in life. That's the goal.
Indeed. Indeed. And
Thank
on
you.
that,
Appreciate it.
yes, indeed. And on that note, family, have a great day. We'll talk to you soon. His information will be down below. And check us out with our other videos. Peace and blessings, family. We out.
Thank you. Have a good one.